Why hello there and welcome back to Some Weirdo on the Internet Reviews Obscure Role-Playing Game Supplements. Back during Zine Quest, I took a look at Terror of the Stratosfiend number 2, after which I was sent several items from the fine folks at Orbital Intelligence, including Terror of the Stratosfiend number 1. So, considering that my only real complaint about number 2 was the lack of context from not having number 1, I figured, why not take a look at number 1. Terror of the Stratosfiend, number 1. That's what we're looking at here right now. So the book itself is 60 pages of weird content for Dungeon Crawl Classics, and as expected, this volume does tell a bit more about the drop. Not a lot though, really. Apparently a bunch of portals just randomly open up and psychic tentacle giants show up through them. Apparently, that is what a Stratosfiend is, as well as humans from stars beyond the stars. So not incredibly complex, but it does the job, and I do like how the simplicity and random nature makes it something that you can drop into any setting. There are 4 new classes provided, my personal favorite being the Human Satcaster, who are kinda like clerics, except that they call on the power of satellites. Like, they can track targets from orbit and call down space lasers, and that is all very cool. There's also a section of thematically appropriate equipment, weapons, weapon upgrades, you can turn anything into a chainsaw apparently, and armor, including a set that hatches into a twitching horror after taking a certain number of hits and attacks the attacker. That is also cool. There are a lot of cool things in this book. And there is also a handful of spells tied to 2 of the Orbital Intelligences, which are new patrons for the setting, including a aforementioned spell that lets you call down space lasers, which I've already said is cool. And finally, 7 new monsters, which are appropriately weird, but like, I'm used to monsters being weird, so it's not as exciting as all of the weird player stuff. And the layout is good, but not spectacular, with some very nice art. And that was Terror of the Stratosfiend, number 1. A pretty cool idea. I like the simplicity of one day things just got weird and focusing on the results of that rather than an elaborate backstory. And all the stuff is pretty cool. It's weird, I like weird, but it all seems like it works. And there is definitely a bit more consistency in this than number 2, but it still provides you options to play as psionic tentacle giants, and that is a thing you don't get in a lot of books. And it looks nice. It doesn't have the kind of experimental design that you saw in number 2, but that's to be expected because this precedes that. So overall, just a cool, weird supplement, and considering that there have been multiple Terrors of the Stratosfiend that have been released after this, there is more of this similar content that you could enjoy if you like this. I will say I do not fully understand some of the content because I am just not familiar with Dungeon Crawl Classics, but the kinds of things I'm seeing in these Stratosfiend books make me want to check it out, and that's a pretty good supplement if it can make you interested in the game that it's designed for when you previously had no interest. It is also worth noting that this and number 2 have versions available for Troika. I am just focusing on the Dungeon Crawl Classics versions because Troika content isn't really all that interesting to talk about. Unless, of course, we're talking about the Troika backgrounds based on weird stock photos, which are available to $1 and up supporters on my Patreon. Yeah, that was one smooth transition. And at higher levels, of course, you can get early access to videos, exclusive and alternate versions of videos, other content, or even have your name mentioned in a video, just like Samuel Gorski, Randy Mulholland, and SC Woolridge. And if you're not interested in any of that, that's fine too. Either way, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit all the lovely buttons, like, subscribe, these other videos, which I am sure are lovely videos, and I will see you next time.